to the very first episode of Gen X Gon' Give It To You. For all my friends from back in the day, for all my Gen X's, I love all y'all. I created this show to keep the connection alive because we are so damn special. I feel like some of y'all have forgotten. Anyway, anybody that wants a piece of the Gen X loving are welcome as well. So tell your friends to subscribe. This is an extended love letter to my fellow Generation X. That's the years 1965 to 1980. A little bit about me first. My name is Deshanta. Some people also know me as Dee Dee. I'll be your host. I was born July 15th in the Bronx. I lived on East 180th Street near the Grand Concourse with my mother. She was in a singing group back then, so I'm sure that's where my love of music came from. I'm like a human jukebox. I listen to a bunch of genres of music. Rap, R&B, rock, pop, blues, a little bit of that pop country too. I love it all. If it got a beat, I'm bopping. Then we moved to Walton Avenue when I was about 3, I'd say. I loved living on Walton Avenue. There are so many awesome memories. When I was 5, my sister Taisha was born. Summertime's outside, Mr. Softy ice cream, red light, green light, kick the can, freeze tag, hide and seek, hopscotch, duck, duck, goose, tic-tac-toe, double dutch, musical chairs, kickball, jacks, frisbees, hula hoops, and we can't forget skelsies, but I saved the best for last. Remember dashing towards the fire hydrant on those hot summer days when someone broke out a wrench? Yeah, we're going to talk about those great times. We're going to talk about it all. Stuff from like the late 60s all the way to now, Motown, the Beatles, Sea Monkeys, Evel Knievel, the Bad News Bears, Kenny Rogers, Shalimar, Night of the Living Dead, The Wiz, Dallas, soap operas, The Price is Right. Rest in peace, Bob Barker. How many of us got into warrior mode once we heard the call of Pat Benatar's Invincible? Stop playing. The Legend of Billie Jean is a classic. That song is a Gen X mantra. It's going to be a big old block party over here. And what would a block party be without people from the neighborhood? Get ready for surprise guests, many of them from back in the day, sharing their stories and experiences. Everyone gets to be a star over here. Throughout future episodes, I'll be sharing stories from my life. For now, let's fast forward. So after graduating from Truman High School, I continued my education at SUNY Cobleskill in upstate New York, where I studied liberal arts. I wished it offered communications, TV, film, something. Initially, I figured I'd transfer to a 4-year school. While there, my love of nature was reawakened. I was mesmerized by the beautiful skies. My nature friends' encounters were increasing, and the lush landscapes that never seemed to end. It felt like home, and I decided to stay in the area after finishing at SUNY. The fact that upstate was also inexpensive was another motivation to make a new start, and that's what I did. That's when I found New School of Radio and TV. Then I had to make a decision, radio or TV, because I loved both. I decided on radio broadcasting. Shout out to air personalities from back in the day that inspired me. Wolfman Jack, Casey Kasem, Frankie Crocker, Scott Shannon in the Morning Zoo, cool DJ Red Alert. Did y'all know he was the first to play hip-hop in Japan? Molly Marr, Mr. Magic, Chuck Chillout, news reporter Ann Tripp, Todd Pettengill and his phone scams. Me and God didn't choose my unique voice for no reason. My voice didn't get made fun of for no reason. Shout out to policewoman Laverne Hooks. If you know, you know. I was living in Albany, and on-air jobs were very limited in the Capital District. I got the "we're looking for someone with experience" a lot. As unique as my voice is, I knew it would take me places, if given a chance. Fuck what my radio teacher used to tell me. You don't have the voice for it. Did I say fuck him already? I was determined to be on the mic, to be heard in some way. I started looking into voiceover work. I befriended this guy who was an audio-video technician. He helped me create an audio reel of me reading characters from The Little Mermaid called A Charm Life. It was so much fun to make. Back then, you had to burn CDs and mail them to prospective agents, etc. As excited as I was at putting my time and effort into me and my talents, it was a slow process. I started thinking about how I could get my CD out to more people faster. I happened to see an ad for Pride Parade in New York City coming up soon. My Bronx hustle light bulb went off. Thousands of people go to Pride Parade every year because it be lit. Yup, I burned like 100 CDs of A Charm Life and headed back home to the city and handed them out to random people I passed on the street. Maybe one would be an agent, an executive, a program director. My voice had to get the attention of somebody, right? Nope. No agent, no program director called me, but I wouldn't let that deter me. It's all part of the business. It would just take longer than I hoped. I did get jobs as promotion assistant or board op. but pay sucked. Eventually, I went back to working office jobs because bills don't pay themselves. I always knew I'd go back. Entertainment is in my blood. All my friends know I'm the creative type. I write poems, short stories, screenplays. Like I mentioned earlier, I love TV and movies just as much as I love music. I stay quoting a movie line or incorporating a verse from a song into whatever I'm talking about. Most times, it just goes over everyone's head. When I saw Cheryl Lee Ralph in Piece of the Action in theaters, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. The adults in my life wasn't hearing that though. But my adult self now had a chance. I happened to see an ad for auditions for a movie being filmed in the area. I knew I had to go. One thing that changed throughout the years is instead of starring in the movies, I wanted to produce them as well as TV shows and documentaries. So I did go to the audition and pitch myself to the director and two producers in front of me. This landed me an unpaid production assistant position, which is common starting out. I worked evenings at a restaurant. Everything was coming together. Something in me changed. I felt like I finally had control of my life. It was so freeing. My love and appreciation of self grew. At this time, I was also growing into my spirituality. So understood I had manifested the life I wanted. I continue to manifest and want to help others manifest too. We don't have to live this life others expect. That's always been so corny to me. And yes, I've worked on dozens of productions since that fateful day. We got so much to talk about and share, y'all, and this Gen X gonna give it to you. So let's fast forward. When podcasting started to get popular, the wheels started turning again. I knew it was time, but what would we talk about? Yes, I do have a t-shirt company called Sick Like Minds, which is my baby, my heart, my soul. We definitely going to talk about that. But what else? One day I was on social media and seen a video with somebody throwing shade at Generation X. What did we do to y'all? Sheesh. I started seeing random stuff more and more. Finally, I was like, oh, hell nah. Somebody tap me in. Gen X has witnessed and experienced so many things, and from that created others. And other generations can say that too, of course. But there's just something about us. First of all, we created hip-hop. Hip-hop, us. As you can see, hip-hop has a resounding effect globally. We made it to the Olympics, damn it. I could drop the mic and walk off, but I'm here to put a spotlight on a bunch of dope stuff we attempted, achieved, and survived. The timeline of events in future episodes is gonna be one hell of a ride. Another reason I created this podcast was for us to have an outlet. So when I heard myself say, I'ma break down some stuff for the people, followed by Robin Harris's character, Sweet Dick Willie from Do the Right Thing, say, let it be broke, motherfucker, I knew it was going to be on and popping. My friends from back in the day, Stephanie, Tracy, Gail, and Renee, know me and Steph wanted our own show like Arsenio. TV, radio, or whatever. We would walk around with Stephanie's video camera and act like we were TV hosts. Good times. So for those who came to learn some things, have fun, and feel a sense of community, this Gen X gon' give it to you. This show is about taking y'all back, way back into time, making you smile, feel good while awakening our kid selves. It's never too late to reignite forgotten dreams or fulfill ones that got cut short. When y'all come here, expect to be treated with mad love, regardless of the topic. Yes, I'll be passionate, quick-witted, honest, many times while reciting movie and music lines. Hopefully I won't get sued along the way because it comes natural at this point. Thank you for being here, for sharing this journey. Shout out to Boosie Green on my logo artwork and DMX for the title inspiration. Rest in peace to a real one. Now that y'all know a little more about me, I want to introduce you to one of my all-time favorite groups who continues to mesmerize generations and no doubt will continue to do so for lifetimes to come. Drum roll, please. The Jackson 5, later the Jacksons, are a top-selling pop and soul group based out of Gary, Indiana, that originally formed in 1963 with brothers Jackie, Tito, and Jermaine, along with childhood friends Reynard Jones on keyboards and Milton Height on drums. Reynard Jones is credited by Gordon Keith, founder of Steeltown Records, for putting the group together. Steeltown would later be the first to sign the Jacksons to a contract. Reynard went to school with Jackie and knew about the boys' talent. The boys were actually performing in shows before Joe even found out about their musical gifts. Joe had come home one day to find one of the strings on his guitar broken. In his earlier days, Joe Jackson was in a blues group called the Falcons with his brother Luther and Pookie Gary Hudson. Pookie left the group to join the Spaniels. Learning about the boys got Joe's wheels turning. Joe took over and became their manager. During that time, they were going by the Jackson Brothers. In 1965, Michael joined the group playing congas at first, with Marlon playing tambourine. This is when they changed their name to the Jackson 5. Michael, showing amazing vocal and dance ability, was added as lead singer soon after. In 1966, the group won their first talent show at Theodore Roosevelt High School in Gary. It was also around this time that Johnny Jackson and Ronnie Rancifer replaced Height and Jones. The label would promote Johnny and Ronnie as the Jackson Five's cousins, which wasn't true. Both would end up playing with the group till around 1975. The Jackson Five did the talent show circuit, and in August 1967, the group booked at Harlem's Apollo Theater and Chicago's Regal Theater, where they won both competitions. It was at the Apollo that the Jackson Five caught the attention of Gladys Knight. She sent a demo of the group to Motown, but it was rejected. Barry Gordy, founder of Motown, felt kid acts were a hassle, so that was the deterrent at the time. In November 1967, Joe met owner and producer Gordon Keith at Stilltown Records, who signed the boys to the label where they recorded Big Boy, with it being released as a single January 1968. By March of that same year, Keith got the distribution deal with Atlantic Records. Big Boy went on to sell 10,000 copies. That same month, the Jackson Five got their first paying gig at the Apollo, opening for Etta James. Things were getting better and better because in July 1968, the group opened for Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers at the Regal Theater. He was so impressed by Michael, Taylor sent the boys to his label Motown to set up a recorded audition. After hearing the boys, Barry Gordy signed the Jackson Five 3 days later. He and many at Motown were captivated by their ability to emulate their favorite artists like Sam Cooke, Sammy Davis Jr., and James Brown. Because of lingering contract issues with Keith Gordon and Stilltown, their first album was delayed. Then on March 11, 1969, the Jackson Five signed their 7-year contract with Motown. Initial recordings did not impress Barry, so he sent them to Hollywood, where they were put under the wings of Suzanne DePass, who led public relations and marketing. She came up with the idea to tell the public that Diana Ross discovered the brothers. Michael was billed as an 8-year-old sensation when he was actually almost 11. Soon after, Barry Gordy gave the group their own songwriting and production team called The Corporation. I Want You Back was released in October 1969, with their debut album, Diana Ross Presents The Jackson Five, released December 1969. History was created. The Jackson Five became a household name with legions of fans across the globe. Motown capitalized on the group's youth appeal, licensing dozens of products like stickers, posters, coloring books, the t-shirts, lunchboxes. They were everywhere, and there were no signs of Jackson Mania letting up anytime soon. All right, y'all, let's get into some Jackson 5 TV appearances. The first national TV appearance for the Jackson 5 was on August 22nd, 1969, at Madison Square Garden for the Miss Black America pageant, where they performed It's Your Thing. On October 18, 1969, they performed at the Hollywood Palace a week after I Want You Back was released. The episode was a dedication to Motown acts and hosted by Diana Ross. Because Michael had been compared to Sammy Davis Jr. so often, the entertainer made a surprise appearance, joking that Michael just might take his place. December 14, 1969, they performed on The Ed Sullivan Show, performing Stand, Who's Loving You, and I Want You Back. And the list goes on and on. American Bandstand, The Jim Nabors Show, Diana Ross TV special, Flip Wilson. In 1972, the Jackson 5 got a TV special. The opening was similar to the Brady Bunch. The Dating Game, The Merv Griffin Show, Dick Cavett, The Oscars, Bob Hope Special, Soul Train, Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour, American Music Awards, the Grammys, The Carol Burnett Show, The Michael Douglas Show. On this episode, Dom DeLuise was a guest, and he went down the line and gave the guys daps, and you could see he was sincerely happy and excited to meet them. The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, the Jerry Lewis Telethon, all of their performances were amazing, but some of my favorites were both times they appeared on The Carol Burnett Show, one of the original queens of comedy, and the Jackson 5. You can't go wrong. Now, I know some of you youngins probably never heard of Carol Burnett, but I suggest you head to YouTube and laugh your ass off. I also love them on the Flip Wilson Show and Sonny and Cher. Who knew Cher had moves? The Jackson 5 saw a decline around 1973. Even though Michael and Jermaine had successful solo albums, they decided to disband. They grew frustrated with Motown, who refused to give them creative control. On top of that, they learned they were earning 2.8% of royalties. In 1975, they announced they signed a contract with Epic Records, who gave them 20% per record. Jermaine, however, remained at Motown after marrying Barry's daughter Hazel. Because they were still under contract with Motown, Motown sued them for a breach of contract, but allowed them to record for Epic Records as long as they changed their name. Motown owned the Jackson 5 name. The family changed it to the Jacksons. In November 1976, they released their self-titled album, The Jacksons, soon after their weekly variety show. With singles Show You the Way to Go and Enjoy Yourself, the album went gold. In December 1978, they released Destiny, which included Shake Your Body Down to the Ground. That album went platinum. Their next album, Triumph, also went platinum with the hits This Place Hotel, Lovely One, and Can You Feel It? In between the albums Destiny and Triumph, Michael released Off the Wall, which we'll get into in another episode. In 1981, the Jacksons went on to break records with their sold-out Triumph tour. It earned $5.5 million, which is over $19 million today. In 1983, the brothers reunited performing on Motown 25, Yesterday, Today, and Forever. I will never forget that night. The reunion was so successful, the Jacksons released a sixth album for Epic in 1984 titled Victory. This is the only album to include all six brothers. It peaked at number 4 on the U.S. Billboard 200. The most successful song, State of Shock, featuring Mick Jagger. It was originally recorded with Freddie Mercury, but because of scheduling conflicts, they couldn't finish it. It would go on to sell 7 million copies. Imagine if Freddie was on it, you know it would sell probably over 10 million and 15 million. Each brother had a solo song on this album. In 1984, the Jacksons filmed a commercial for Pepsi. This was the incident where Michael was severely burned due to faulty pyrotechnics. In 1984, the Jacksons went on the Victory Tour of the U.S. and Canada, which would ultimately gross $75 million, which is over $227 million today. It would be the highest grossing tour at the time. In December of that year, during their final performance, Michael announced that he was leaving the group. Then in January, Marlon announced his departure to go solo. In 1987, the Jacksons released the single Time Out for the Burglar, which was on the soundtrack for Whoopi Goldberg's movie Burglar. In 1989, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, and Randy released 2300 Jackson Street. It would go on to sell 500,000 copies worldwide. For the single 2300 Jackson Street, Michael and Marlon returned. Rebe and Janet also contributed vocals to the song. The song is about their childhood home. The group would reunite for 2 performances at Madison Square Garden in September 2009 for a 30th anniversary special celebrating Michael's solo career. This inspired Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, and Marlon to film a reality show, hoping to reunite the group. It would be years in the making, finally being released December 2009, after Michael's death. The remaining brothers added vocals to Michael's This Is It, which made it to number 19 on the Hot Adult Contemporary charts. There were talks of a tribute tour, as well as a new album, but that never came to fruition. Jermaine did perform a tribute concert to Michael in September 2010. In November 2010, oldest brother Jackie released a single on iTunes called We Know What's Going On. In true Jackson fashion, the song is about hope and unity. He even included words from Michael's speech, Without Hope We Are Lost. Jermaine released a solo album in 2011 called I Wish You Love. In 2012, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, and Marlon announced the Unity Tour. The shows in the US, Canada, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia. There were originally 38 shows scheduled, but 11 in the US were canceled. I couldn't find why, but 32 dates would eventually be added with many in the US. The tour ended on July 27, 2013 in Atlantic City. On January 7, 2016, the Jacksons performed at Planet Hollywood, Las Vegas at the concert event Heal the World, a tribute to Michael Jackson. It was a star-studded event including Aerosmith, George Benson, Neo, Christina Milian, and Rick Ross. Magic Johnson was the host. In January 2019, the Jacksons headlined at Trust Power Bay Park Stadium and Trust Power Arena in New Zealand. A couple of days later, they performed 6 shows at the Summer Series Australian Tour. March 1st of 2019, they performed at Treasure Island Resort and Casino in Minnesota. Also in 2019, the brothers performed in the Netherlands and Brazil. In 2020, they performed at Jakarta International Java Jazz Festival. Try saying that 3 times. February 2021, they performed on the Ultimate Disco Cruise. 2021 continued to be a busy year performing in Belgium, Pennsylvania, Florida, and France. 2022 proved to be just as busy with performances in hometown Gary, Coconut Creek, Florida, again at the Ultimate Disco Cruise, this time sailing to Mexico. Casino Creek Resort in Brooks, California, 2 performances in the United Kingdom. In August 2022, the Jacksons headlined a sold-out concert in France. A couple of days later, the New York State Fair in Syracuse. Early September would have them headlining Weekender Festival in Jersey Channel Islands. Then Strangers in the Night Gala in Ontario, Canada. In February of 2023, they headlined the 15th annual Family Gras with rocker Rick Springfield. A few months later, they headed back to the UK for a few more shows. July 16th, they performed in San Diego at the Radi Shell, followed by a performance in Spain, then southern France at the Cine Estival, and I hope I pronounced that right. This is where I decided to stop recording for the day. I spent hours editing, re-recording while listening to many of the Jackson songs throughout the years. I fell in love with each one of them all over again. They are such a talented family with their infectious sounds, harmony, and dance routines. The next day, September 16th, I woke to the news that Toriano Tito Jackson had passed away at age 70, suffering from a heart attack. Another massive light has dimmed in the world. I had secretly wished that the remaining brothers after Michael would hear about Gen X Gon' Give It To Ya, and that I chose them as my first episode. To the Jackson family, I send my sincerest condolences. May spirit caress your heart and keep your minds calm. You are loved and forever cherished. And for everyone who doesn't know, it was Tito that broke that guitar string. Thank you, Tito. Before I wrap up this episode, let's go through their awards and nominations throughout the years, as well as some of our favorite songs. Their Grammy nominations included Best Contemporary Vocal Performance by a Duo or Group in 1971 for ABC. In 1975, Best R&B Vocal Performance by a Duo or Group, Dancing Machine. In 1981, Best R&B Vocal Performance by a Duo or Group, Triumph. They earned the Grammy Hall of Fame induction in 1999 for I'll Be There, and again for I Want You Back, in 2017 for ABC. They won a total of 4 NAACP Image Awards in 1970 for Best Vocal Group and 1971 for Best Vocal Group. Came back in 1972 with Best Vocal Group, and in 1980 Best Vocal Group. The United States Congress awarded the Jackson 5 with a special commendation for positive role models in 1972. In 1974, the Organization of African Unity awarded the Jackson 5 for strengthening African Americans. In 1975, they were inducted as honorary members of Congressional Black Caucus. In 1980, the Jacksons received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In 1984, the Jacksons won the Bronze Medal Award for Pepsi ads at the Atlanta International Film Festival. In 1997, the Jackson 5 was inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In 1999, they were inducted in the Vocal Group Hall of Fame. In 2008, the Jacksons were honored with the BMI Icon Award. This episode is for the Jackson 5. Because there are 9 talented siblings, I'll be back to put a spotlight on their solo efforts as well as the talented women in the family. In 2018, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, and Marlon accepted plaques bearing the Detroit City Keys. They also headlined the Detroit Music Weekend. They were also honored with a 90-minute tribute concert featuring songs from the entire Jackson family, including Janet and Rebe. The bond in this family is so real. I'll wrap up this episode with some of my favorite Jackson songs. ABC, The Love You Saved, Never Can Say Goodbye, Blame It on the Boogie, I Want You Back, Dancing Machine, Enjoy Yourself, Shake Your Body Down to the Ground, I'll Be There, and Who's Loving You? What are some of your favorite songs by the Jacksons? Let me know on Facebook and Instagram at Gen X Gon' Give It To Ya. I want to thank y'all for joining me for the very first episode of Gen X Gon' Give It To Ya, where you got to learn about my inspirations and intentions for the show, as well as my deep love and fascination for the Jacksons, which I know many of you can relate to. Be sure to tell everyone who wants to smile to subscribe. Coming up on the next episode, we'll discuss the angry young man of Hollywood. That would be Rod Serling, creator of The Twilight Zone. It was a sincere honor and pleasure to have chosen him for our second episode. Find out why he's one of my social justice warriors, because this Gen X gon' give it to you.